Welcome back. We're here for part 2 on matting, brought to you by AZ Pet Stylist. Let's get started. Okay, so you got a new dog and now suddenly you're having to get them groomed more often than the last dog because your other dog didn't mat as much. Why do some dogs mat more than others? Sometimes it's breed specific or coat specific. Dogs with more curly coat or the coat that has to get cut back all the time because it's always growing, or even double coated breeds are the ones that tend to be affected the most. Examples would be your poodles and doodles and Bijans, Maltese, Shih Tzu, Yorkie. There are several others I could name, but those are the most common ones. Actually, Schnauzer, that one's a big culprit. So what causes mats? What are the most common causes? Mats can start when you wash their hair. Their hair is stuck to itself until you brush it out. If you brush the hair out while it's still wet, it's going to still be stuck to itself once it's dry. So it's making sure that the proper grooming techniques are applied. Bathing and drying and brushing. If you let your dog air dry at home, wait to brush them out until after they're completely dry. Other things such as friction can often cause mats. So where the collar is at, if your dog wears a diaper or a sweater, or if your dog gets debris in their hair, they love to go out and carry all the stuff back in, that causes the hair to stick to itself. And anything that causes the hair to start sticking to itself, that's the beginning of a tangle. A tangle is the beginning of a mat. A mat is the beginning of a pelted coat. One important thing to note is when your pet is matted, never give them a bath first. Why? Because bathing actually takes this hair and it shrinks it down. It makes it tighter, which could actually cause more pain, and even more key, it adds moisture down underneath that coat, and the mat prevents the skin and coat from drying out, maintaining that healthy environment. So what you've done is just added that perfect environment for infection to fester. So dogs really aren't the only ones that get matted. Of course, a lot of the cat grooming that we do see is from cats that end up getting matted. So we've got a dog mat here, and we've got an example of a cat mat, and you can actually see how thick and dense this is. It's super solid on the inside, just like the dog. But cats are double coated or triple coated. So what we find more often with cats is that it's very much so unsafe to try and brush this off, because with a cat, their skin is paper mache thin. So their skin is more fragile than their coat. It's thinner than any hair that they have. And see, I can actually pull this off a little bit. But what we see is that the coat will literally start pulling away from the skin, creating bald spots, which again, it's like you don't see it until you shave the cat, and what you see is patchiness on their skin. It can happen with dogs. It's just a lot more common with cats. And another thing that you'll see a lot of the times with cats, when they get matted, they stop moving as much. It literally affects their quality of life. So you really do want to make sure to work on early prevention and treatment. Okay, so how do we treat mats, and then how do we prevent them? To begin, treating mats, if they are still at the level of just mild, which just means a tangle here or there across the coat, then that can be brushed out and removed with the proper tools and products. Tools such as the comb, the mat breaker, and conditioner for sure. However, when the mats get a little more stuck together, all the way to the point of here where they are a pellet coat, the only humane option is to remove it by shaving it off. No, it's not the haircut you're looking for, probably not at least, but it does give your pet a fresh start, and we can grow that coat from there. Once your pet has had its fresh start, how do you prevent the mats from coming back? Well, the easy answer is to brush them. But there's keys to that. When you bathe your pet at home, or if your pet goes and runs in the sprinklers or goes in the pool or even in the snow, which we don't get much of out here, when that coat is wet, making sure that it's brushed out after it's dry. That is your number one key. And then when you're brushing the coat out, making sure you get all the way to the skin. If you remember from earlier, we had this where we could brush through, but it wasn't going all the way through to the skin. The number one thing that I always tell individuals is to do your comb check. This is your number one tool if you have a pet that mats at home, to have the comb. And this comb has thinner, closer together on one side and wider apart on the other. So you would start with the wider teeth to make sure it goes all the way to the skin and pulls out. And then you would flip the comb around and do it again. Once you've succeeded there, your pet is fully brushed out, and that is the key to preventing future mats. In closing, matting is not just a cosmetic issue. It can be a serious comfort and health concern for your pet. When we come by, feel free to ask your stylist for any tips or to show you things that you can do. Prevention is number one. Thank you for joining us for Grooming 101, brought to you by Arizona's Pet Stylist. We'll see you on the next episode.